So that'd be good. Starting.
Can you get them?
We're live.
Duck.
All right.
Thanks. That ought to be enough.
Yeah, hopefully. Is it enough?
Yeah.
You got enough movement? You can talk into the mic and everything without straining?
Ow. I hit myself in the face with the microphone.
We are live
Is that
on YouTube. It is
no.
on YouTube now. It happened.
No.
Yes, it is on YouTube. YouTube is up. It is running.
Hi.
We have not started the Facebook feed, and I have not started recording, but
So people are getting like bonus content for free.
yeah, if they happen to click on that link, they are.
That's funny.
Or if they're watching this later, because that's why it's using YouTube mostly so that people can like go back and watch it later if they want to watch it later, whatever. All right, we're at 4 minutes till. I'm gonna click on the old Facebook. We're going live on Facebook in 3, 2, 1. And now people can see us on Facebook, and there's nobody there, of course. But
hi, Facebook.
And I'm drinking my mystery drink.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm not telling anybody what it is. It's mystery. It's
I
a
can smell
mystery
it.
drink. Well, yeah, but they can't.
You can't smell it.
Yeah, I mean, we got audio and video now, but there's no smell-o-vision.
Hey, I don't suppose you.
Didn't they have that like in the 50s? They had some smell-o-movies where like they had the smells in the movie. Like that they were released into the theater. I don't know. It was like some cheesy thing. It was like the early 3Ds that were like stupid.
Yeah.
It was like that.
That's gross.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was a joke, but I don't know. But I heard about the smell-o-vision. And I'm like, yeah, it's an idea that didn't take, because you don't want to smell what the people on the screen are smelling. I mean, you want to get involved in it, but the smell, they can keep that. We don't want that. Like The Walking Dead. Would you want to smell that?
No.
Right? I mean, like,
I was thinking, you said The Walking Dead, and I was thinking about Michael Talbot, how he explains what it smells like.
The zombie Fallout books?
Yeah. And
yeah. You don't want to smell that.
I don't want to smell that.
You don't want that. If you haven't read it, Mark Tufo writes a series of books called Zombie Fallout.
They're really funny.
And they're funny. And they're not literature in any way.
But they're good.
Are you on the Facebook? Are you looking at the Facebook video?
I was trying to get onto it yet.
Okay, because I see one on there, and I don't know if it's you.
No, it's not me.
Oh, well, hello, whoever's there.
I haven't got there yet.
Right, we're about to start. We're getting ready to start.
Are we? Okay.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I'm having issues. Well, I'm having a lot of issues today, but forgetting what I was doing is one of them.
But definitely, if you're listening, you feel free to chime in on the old comment board there on Facebook, because I am
if I
looking
click
at
on this, I can do YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll click on this so I can get on YouTube.
Just make sure you mute your volume.
Mute my volume.
Because
otherwise I'll hear us.
Because of that.
Hey, you can see my jammy pants.
You can, and your slippers.
My slippers. I am in slippers and jammy pants.
Yep.
And Facebook, I want. Where's the Facebook one?
I don't.
I can do it.
Just go to the page.
Many ways.
See it.
Yeah.
It should be there. It would be us talking.
It'll be us talking. I see us talking.
Yeah.
Now, in order to see the comments, though, I have to go like this and pop into it. There we go.
Well, maybe we'll order your screen soon, so you'll have the second screen.
Well, that's good, because this one's
one
turning freaking blue.
Okay, it's about time to start the recording. Yeah, Susie Robbins just joined. There you go.
There I am.
Yep. Okay, so here we go. Record. Okay, now we're recording, so that's good. And we're getting close to starting the show. 7 o'clock. Ready?
Ready.
Science and technology.
Marie Curie, she's a double scientist. Oh, be. Winning those Nobels left and right. Study pitch blend and overnight. Got isotopes in her pocket. Radiation on the brain. As for radium and polonium, she discovers them and gives them their names. Marie Curie.
Welcome to the bar room. I'm Bill here with my co-host Susie,
Hi, everybody.
and you are here maybe watching our live recording of episode 87,
Woohoo!
Shitstorm. That's all I could think of calling it, because there has been so much stuff that has happened like in the last 10 days.
Yeah. So before we
Ridiculous
get into
levels.
all that stuff, I wanted to personally apologize to listener Beth for not being available for recording the Bible at any time. We're just awful schedulers.
You are going to get your Bible segment this week or this episode. But yeah, that's a story worth telling. Something has gone wrong every time we have tried to record the Bible with listener Beth.
Yep.
We actually had her on. I could hear her fine. I could see her on the video feed. Everything was fine, except she couldn't hear us. Like our voices weren't going out. And it was weird. And I had to go in and totally change a bunch of crap in my computer, and I got it working again. But then it took me like 3 hours.
And then I went to the doctor.
Yeah, and then you went to the doctor, and
the doctor took like 3 hours.
yeah, that was a different night. It's just been ridiculous. Like I even told her, if I were a superstitious person, I would think it was somehow cursed.
Right.
But I'm not, and I just think crap hasn't been working out.
Right.
But we are going to still do that. Listener Beth's going to come do 9 or 10 chapters with us. They're just what chapters are going to be is moving further into the Bible, because we recorded 3 for you for this show. So you're going to get your Bible. It's going to be great. It's longer than usual. But Susie and I will take our normal break, and then we'll come back here and we'll just sit and chat with you guys on Facebook.
Because we have so much to talk about.
You know, there's so much going on. Let's just go over some of the things that are going on. Texas church shot up.
Yeah.
Big debate over what happened. I was debating on Facebook because I was like, hey, this guy would have a mental diagnosis if he had mental problems, because he was in the Air Force and he was at a court martial. And I went back and forth with some people on that. And turns out I was right. I said, I doubt he has mental illness because he wasn't diagnosed. It turns out he was diagnosed. They just forgot to tell people.
Right.
And they forgot to forward his conviction into the background check system.
Oops.
So there was that. And the guy was apparently an atheist.
Yeah. So
Firebrand on Facebook or something.
Yep.
Which, okay. We're like 1-2% of the population, those that call ourselves open atheists. And yeah, I guess eventually we're going to get some shooters in there, because shooters tend to appear in their proportion to the population. So that's our one. But, I don't really feel bad about that, because let's be honest, the guy actually, broke his kid's skull when he was a Christian.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it goes to show you that atheism doesn't really do anything for you. If you're an asshole, you stay an asshole, unless you change that for some other way. There being no God doesn't change you.
Right.
It's just like, okay, yeah, there's no fucking God. I mean, if you're a good person, you're still a good person. But
we're also going to talk about
sex,
like bad sex, I guess you could say.
not sex,
not sex,
yeah.
Because there's been a lot going on, and Bill's all into the politics of it, and I am all into the entertainment of it. So we figured we'd throw it all together, because it all does throw together.
Well, people keep letting their dinguses get them in trouble.
Assault, as when it comes to Hollywood and religion,
and of course, we got
politics,
and of course we got our normal crazy right-wing people who are freaking the fuck out because of that election.
Right.
Because apparently, when you go out and vote on off years, and it's important in those local elections that I've been saying,
when people listen to
for
us
years, I've been saying,
and they go vote when they're supposed to vote.
You got to get out there and you got to make stuff happen. And they did. They made it happen. So what I want you to do is forget that, because that's over. Okay. And start thinking about the one in a year from now, because you cannot rest on your laurels.
Right.
We had our Dewey defeats Truman moment, and I'll talk about that more. But we had that moment, and we don't want to have another one. Elections are decided on election day. They're not decided by polls. They're not decided ahead of time. But so we're going to talk about that too. So, Susie, you want to talk about the sex stuff first, right?
Sure.
You want to talk? Yeah. Well, let's dive right into. Started with the Me Too, right?
I think so. I think that empowered women and at least one man I've heard
Well, no, I think pretty much all of Kevin Spacey's were men.
to come forward and to be out there with what happened to them. So I think it's pretty important. And I do think it started with the Me Too. So the whole show that No Religion Required did on Me Too, which I have to give a props to Ashley because
she's on here.
She's on here.
Yeah.
So the whole story about Me Too that's been all over, I think it empowered people, and people are standing up now and coming out of the woodwork.
True.
I was just now watching TV. I mean, hello, newsflash, beep, beep, breaking news. I was just watching about a gold medalist gymnast who accused her doctor of, when she was a gold medalist, of sexually assaulting her. Just now. I was just watching it on 60 Minutes.
So what we're saying, gentlemen, and I do say gentlemen because the offenders are like 99% dudes.
Right.
This conduct is not acceptable. And it's not going to be the kind of thing that's tolerated. There's no more wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's no more locker room talk. Especially when it's not locker room talk. It's what you actually fucking do, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's just not going to be tolerated anymore. Because you know what happened? Women and men too, victims kind of realize there are more of us than there are of these abusers. And really, that's the truth. There are a lot more, because how many abusers victimize one person in their life?
Yeah.
If you think about it, because I was thinking about that, because not all men. That hashtag, remember that came out with the Me Too thing? Don't be fucking stupid. Nobody thinks it's all men. In fact, if it was all men, or if it was most men, then everybody would be being victimized all the fucking time. We wouldn't get anything else done. You know what I mean? It's a few, but they victimize a lot of people, and they make a huge impact, and that's why it matters. So that's been happening, and then it jumps into politics this week, right?
Right.
Judge Roy Moore, couldn't happen to a nicer fucking guy. Apparently got naked with and apparently they didn't have sex. I don't know. They did, according to the story, they did not have sex, but he got naked with a 14-year-old girl.
Now,
there was also a 16-year-old girl and two 18-year-old girls.
I want to say, for the record, that he absolutely 100% denies the 14-year-old. 100%. I just saw it on the same 60 Minutes show.
Well, yeah.
He's he admits to meeting the other three, but he's never even met, supposedly, the 14-year-old.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. This lady would come out and say, this guy did this to me when I was 14 freaking years old.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Well, you know what? If at that time he was also dating during that general time period, he was also dating a 16-year-old and two 18-year-olds, and he was 30 fucking 2. Yeah, I don't know. That kind of. And apparently he did meet her at a custody hearing for her. They were deciding whose custody, whether she was going to mom's or dad's.
Yeah.
That's where he met her. That is freaking creepy.
Okay. So I just want to say something before we get into any major conversations. I love all my Facebook listeners, and I try to chat with you. As you can see, my chat works really bad sometimes. So I want to give everybody a shout out that's listening on Facebook. And I'd like to tell Sarah that, yes, we are set up on a poker table. That is what you see. We've had this poker table since we were in Turkey, I think. And it's been around for a long time. And thank you all for chiming in on the issues. And if I don't respond to you, it's because Bill gets mad when I'm typing because he
Well,
thinks I'm
because you're
not
supposed to
paying
be talking to me.
he
Yeah.
thinks I'm not paying any attention to him. So
Yeah. So you're supposed to be talking to me.
right, but how am I supposed to chat and talk to you at the same
You're
time?
supposed to talk to me, and they can chat with each other. And then when we have a break, then you chat.
Oh, I see.
That's how it works.
How about one of us chat, one of us talk, one of us chat? I don't know.
Well, then that's not a conversation. That's alternating monologues.
Yes, dear.
This is a conversation. See, right now we're having a conversation.
That we
Or we
are.
were, but then you kind of went off again. But
Well,
no, not
Ashley
only
is
are we on a
actually
poker
sending
table,
me
but we have
pictures.
dogs playing poker. I just want to point that out too.
Ashley and Bobby put us on the big screen,
Oh, no way.
so
So they can look at our dogs playing poker?
they can look at our dogs playing poker.
Yeah.
Anyhow, back to the issues. We were talking about Ray Moore, and you are
Roy.
Roy.
Oh,
is that his name? Okay,
Yeah, his name's Roy.
whatever.
And he's
Sorry, Ray.
Well, here's the problem. The motherfucker's running for Senate in Alabama right now.
Yes.
Now, everybody's like, oh, I don't think he's going to win now because of this. And
Oh, heck.
let me tell you about Alabama, because I saw something on Rachel Maddow today that was interesting. Did you know their Speaker of the House, who is kind of a very powerful person in the state government, the way their state government is set up, the governor's weaker than you would think, and then in most states, their Speaker of the House was indicted on 23 counts of fraud and corruption
right?
right before the election
And he's still a
in
speaker. of the House.
2014, and he won his race.
Well, I don't
Wait.
know what it is.
Then he went back to the House, and they reelected him Speaker. The Republicans reelected him
Right.
Speaker, even though he was under indictment for 23 counts
So-
of fraud. And then what finally got him out of the House? He went to prison. He was found fucking guilty.
Let me just apologize to all those people who aren't Republicans who live in Alabama, because the guy on the TV, and I quote, said, I don't care if he did it. I'm still voting for him.
Exactly.
Right?
Which brings us, good segue, to our first clip.
Go
This
me.
is some of the things that the GOP has said supporting Roy Moore.
Last several hours, standing by Roy Moore, Marion County Chair David Hall said, quote, other than being with an underage person, he didn't really force himself, end quote.
Other
Other
than
than.
fucking raping someone, other than molesting a child, he really didn't do anything wrong. So we'd rather have the child molester
Than a Democrat.
than a Democrat. Oh,
my
man.
goodness.
Heck no, not a Democrat. The child molester will do. At least he's a Christian child molester.
Right.
Now, State Auditor Jim Ziegler, he told the Washington Examiner, like take Mary and Joseph. Mary was a teenager and Joseph was an adult carpenter. They became parents of Jesus. Using that biblical example, just a few minutes ago, I spoke.
What is the example? Did Joseph get her naked? No, apparently he did. According to the fucking story, if we're gonna believe the fucking story, Joseph didn't take
That's
Mary's
true.
clothes off.
That's true. She was a virgin.
Right, and so until after she gave birth.
So what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, and I'm
That's
like,
totally
well,
true.
it was okay 2,000 years ago. Why isn't it okay now? We change things over time. Our morality evolves, and I think usually it gets better. 200 years ago, we owned black people in this country.
Yeah.
That was wrong. We don't still do that. Pointing to something in the past is not a defense of doing that thing now. Can we just agree that that's a general rule?
I can agree.
Going to the past is, you have to examine the past idea and say, is it a good idea or is it a bad idea? Which is it? Anyway, so yeah, we got some more here. You got to listen to what these people are saying.
Spoke with Mr. Ziegler, and he said, quote, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, she was a teenager. They finally got married when she was 20. And then Alabama State Rep Ed Henry, he said, quote, someone should prosecute and go after the victims. You can't be a victim 40 years later, in my opinion.
Someone should prosecute and go after the victims. For what? Daring to speak out against Roy Moore? I mean, what would be the crime that the victim committed?
Well, they
talking about someone
That's true,
did something
because
bad to you?
the way that they said it, I think, because what they mean, I think what they might mean is going after the people who are accusing.
Yeah.
But the
For
way
what?
that they said it is wrong, because if you're a victim, then you're not accusing, you actually are a victim.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
So
yeah.
if they're gonna say going after the accusers, that's one thing, but going after the victims, that's a totally different thing, and that makes you look like a real dumbass.
Oh, you're a real dumbass anyway, because it's not a crime to say someone did something to me.
Right.
I mean, you might be able to get into the libel and slander, depending on whether it's written down. You might have a civil suit, but probably not, because Roy Moore's a public figure, so he can go fuck himself. So I know they didn't do anything wrong, but now look, he's actually proposing going after them and prosecuting them
I know.
criminally for speaking out. Regardless of what fucking side of the aisle you are, even if you're a I love Trump person, which I don't understand you, but why would you want to prosecute people for speaking in the United States of America? That's really fucked up. And this Ziegler guy they were talking about from Alabama, I just want to share a few other things he said.
He sounds like a real winner.
Yeah, ready? This is another quote from him. "There's nothing to see here," he said. "The allegations are that a man in his early 30s dated teenage girls. Even the Washington Post report says that he never had sexual intercourse with any of the girls and never attempted sexual intercourse. So he didn't fuck them, so it's fine."
Right.
Right. No, Mr. Ziegler, no, because as voters, first of all, we're allowed to make our fucking decisions on anything we want. And personally, I know that the age of consent in your state of Alabama is 16. If a 32-year-old guy is dating a 16-year-old girl, that's fucking creepy. I don't care who you are. And I guarantee if it was Ziegler's daughter who was the 16-year-old in that relationship,
Yeah.
he'd have a fucking problem with it.
He
There'd be
would.
something to see there. So don't tell me there's nothing to see here. It's okay to date 16-year-olds.
Also, one of their examples is kind of flawed. Humphrey Bogart, I think that was one.
And Lauren Bacall?
Lauren Bacall was 19 when they got
Yeah.
together.
And you don't see the difference between 14 and 19?
Yeah.
Night and freaking day. And yes, Humphrey Bogart met Lauren Bacall when she was 19. They fell in love, and it was unusual and maybe even a little creepy, but they got married a year later. So it was just one of those things, and that's okay. That she was a young adult and she chose to marry an older man. That's fine. Even the 18-year-olds are okay. Again, a little creepy, a little weird. But the Lauren Bacall Humphrey Bogart thing was a little weird. You know what Humphrey Bogart isn't doing right now? Anything, because he's fucking dead.
I was going to say, he's not doing anything. He's
But
dead.
one thing in particular that he's not doing is running for senator, for United States Senator.
Right?
I think if Humphrey Bogart was running for United States Senator, we might be questioning some of his choices too. And we'd have that right. So
Yeah, but it wouldn't do any good because you've seen what we did to Trump. Sorry.
you're right. No, you're
we
right.
questioned his shit, and
You're
he
right.
got elected president of the fucking United States after being the
And
pig
one
that
of
he
the
was.
and one of the guys in Alabama even said, "I don't believe this because this is what happened to Trump."
right?
You know what? Trump was recorded saying what he does and how he acts.
Mhm.
And then women came up and said, "Yep, that's how he acts. And that's how he acted with me." And you think that was made up? If it was made up, let me ask you this. If you're a GOP supporter out there and a Trump supporter, if you think it was made up, if that's your honest opinion, please explain to me how they got Trump to make all those statements beforehand, years beforehand, so they could later make it up when he ran for president.
Right.
Because they recorded him. I mean, he wasn't running for president when they recorded him.
Yeah.
He was just Donald Trump.
Yep.
You know, asshole. But funny asshole who you liked watching on The Apprentice. And I did enjoy Donald Trump on The Apprentice. He was a douche. He was funny. He was great. That's where he belongs. On a freaking reality TV show. Not in reality.
Right.
But anyway, that's where we're at. So, yeah, that's the thing with Judge Roy Moore right now. Apparently, he's got some problems, and
it's okay because God.
the people of Alabama will probably send him to the Senate anyway.
Which I
Period. Because, I mean, there were people that said they'd believe it if there were pictures. So, ladies, if you're going to be sexually abused,
take pictures.
Yeah, take pictures. Teach your daughters. Start teaching them about 9, I guess, because, you know, by the time they're 14, you want to be really good at it because that's the target zone. That they need to take pictures whenever a grown man who's a prosecutor in the DA's office wants to get naked with them and kiss them, but not have sex, of course. So that's somehow that makes it. Molesting a kid is not okay just because you didn't go all the way and fuck them. Just, how ridiculous is that?
Right.
I mean, it's not as bad as, sure. And please, can we?
There are some varying degrees,
America,
right?
can we agree that there are varying degrees? Because I'm really tired of people who can't see varying degrees. If you're not with us, you're a fascist. You're a Nazi. That's on our side. And then there's people on the other side who do the same thing. And all sexual assault is not rape. Rape
Right.
is rape. And there are terms to these things. I first encountered this when my kids were young and they were in the DARE program. Remember DARE?
I remember DARE.
Yeah, it was this thing with the against drugs, and the kids went and my kids were coming home telling me bizarre things. Cocaine was a drug and it was bad. You should never touch it. And heroin was a drug and it was bad. And crack was a drug and it was bad. And marijuana was a drug and it was bad. You should never touch it. And beer was bad and it was a drug and you should never touch it. And cigarettes were bad and it was a drug and you should never touch it. And they were all drugs and you should not touch any of them.
Right.
And I was like, why aren't they teaching these kids degrees? Because there's a big fucking difference between a beer and smoking crack.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference between smoking a joint and doing a line of coke or shooting oxy into your veins. It's huge.
Because it's semantics to when you're 8.
But here's the thing: if you teach them they're all equally bad,
then maybe they won't do any of them. There's
oh
nothing
yeah,
wrong.
well that's a good thing. It didn't work.
Right.
Drug use didn't drop drastically because of DARE.
But not from lack of trying.
But here's the thing: maybe they'll just try coke instead of having that beer because there's no difference. They're teaching them there's no difference between them. That's what they were teaching them.
Right. That they're all bad.
Yeah, because they were upset because dad was having a beer, which was the same as doing coke at the kitchen table. As far as they were concerned, because that's what they were being taught in this fucking DARE program. I was like, hey, I'm all for kids not doing coke too. Yeah. Let's keep kids off drugs. That's a great idea. But can we teach them like they're people, that we don't have to and anyway, that's what people do with a lot of things. All sexual assaults are not equal. Not everything that is wrong constitutes sexual assault. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some of it's sexual harassment, which is less than. And some of it is just creepy, douchey behavior. Douchey dude behavior that doesn't even constitute harassment, but you still shouldn't fucking do. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't always, everything you do doesn't rise to the next level just because it's all the same.
The whole Sith thing.
Yeah, they're
know.
Sith. But how do we have Sith on both sides? Weird, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those who don't know and aren't Star Wars geeks, in Revenge of the Sith, Padme says to Anakin, or no, it's not Padme and Anakin. It's Obi-Wan says to Anakin, he says, only a Sith thinks in absolutes. And that's the thing. There are no absolutes here, folks. Reasonable degrees. It's the only way you're going to combat a problem is to recognize that the problem exists in variations, and should be treated such. We should be hardest on the people who've done the worst things. Like Harvey Weinstein jerking off in front of a lady is horrible, and he should never do that. And he should be ostracized for that. But Bill Cosby drugged women and had sex with them against their will, and he should go to fucking prison. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Both should receive punishment, but the punishment should fit the crime.
Yeah. That's definitely true. I have a list, actually. CNN made a list of people.
Go.
The incomplete list of powerful hold on.
Celebrities
accused of sexual assault. That's what it says. See, there's this big X right here.
Go ahead.
Okay. So of course, Weinstein's at the top of their list because they started with the movie category. And then we're all very sad that, okay, I'm very sad that Kevin Spacey's currently under investigation and on many levels.
Well, I guess I've kind of got the point with some of these people where I'm going to have to say, I really love their work.
But you're a douche.
But you're a fucking douche. And I for you as a person, I have no, I mean, like, Mel Gibson, total douche, right?
Right?
I mean, we've known that for a long time.
Right.
Doesn't mean I don't like Lethal Weapon,
Yeah, I know.
I'm not going to go out and pay money for his new stuff. I'm not going to go out and I'm going to try to avoid funneling any money to him at all. But if Lethal Weapon's on TV and it doesn't cost nothing, I'm not contributing anything to watch it, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
But so that, I guess that's where we got to go with Kevin Spacey too. If you're a Kevin Spacey fan,
Man,
if don't go out and buy a copy of The Usual Suspects, but if The Usual Suspects is on, it's okay to watch it.
So there was one of these was kind of there's nothing funny about sexual harassment and sexual assault. Don't get me wrong, but
not even when it's done by a comedian.
Not even and there's one of those.
There's a couple of those. Bill fucking Cosby was a comedian.
Yeah, but the newest one
Louis
is
C.K.
Louis C.K. Yeah, he's on the list. But there's they specifically in the CNN article were talking about Ben Affleck because apparently when
no, sexual assault could be funny if the jokes are funny.
When he decided that Weinstein was an asshole because Weinstein had sexually harassed women and assaulted women, and then
he got accused
himself after an old video surfaced when he was on MTV's Total Request Live of sexually harassing somebody. So I thought that was kind of okay.
Oops.
Funny but not funny.
Oops.
Yeah.
But no, it could be funny because do you think?
Well, wait. Then like George W. Bush, George H.W.
Oh
Bush.
yeah. We were talking about that.
I mean,
before
that's
the show.
funny.
That is kind of funny,
but not funny.
All right. Here's what George W. Bush is accused of doing and doesn't deny it. He tells a joke or something to lighten the mood, and then he pats women on the ass.
And he was in a photo where he's in a wheelchair and he's got his hand on this girl's butt, and you can see it in the photo, and that's the photo that started all the trouble.
Yeah.
But his rep came out and said, well, he sits at that level. That's kind of where his hands go.
But again, can we look at the degrees here? Here's a man who's never been accused of any kind of improprieties in his life, but apparently since he's been in his 90s and confined to a wheelchair, he's become a butt patter. It could be that his mind is not working the way it once did.
That could
I'm
be
just saying, if it was somebody who had a history of it and we knew they'd been doing it for a long time, okay. But he could just be a dotty old dude.
Yeah.
I would imagine that some of the women will find it funny because he's a dotty old dude, and some of the women would take offense. I mean, you just say, fuck, no, you old shit. Get away from me. Because he can't catch you. He's in a wheelchair. Come on. He can't catch you. See, there could be some funny.
See, and that's not us making light of the situation. That is us varying the degrees of intensity to a situation.
Well,
none of us, we're not gonna say how funny it is that Kevin Spacey got an 18-year-old drunk, and then when he left, a lady told him to run, and that's how the 18-year-old got away. None of us are gonna make jokes about that. But old GW getting ass patted, Bill.
I'm tempted to make jokes about that.
No making jokes.
It's how I deal with awkward shit.
Well,
okay, it's not that I don't think it's serious. I do think it's serious, and I think if criminal activity takes place, then criminal action should happen. Like Bill Cosby.
Well, then wait, you can't find anything funny about Roy Moore.
Well, do you think Bill Cosby drugged those women to have sex with them? Because when he has sex, he does all like the Fat Albert voices. See, that is funny. And then they can't hear him going, hey, hey, hey.
Oh, you're a bad man,
See,
Bill.
It can be funny, but the reality isn't funny. And sometimes humor is where we take refuge from what is really a stark and horrible thing.
Right.
It's like people making shooter jokes and 9/11 jokes, and they're not in good taste. It's called dark humor for a reason.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's how you deal with horror. Hello, there was a whole comedy series about a war a little while back called MASH. It was on for 12 years. It was comedy drama, but there was a lot of comedy in there. Wars ain't funny, but funny sometimes how you deal with shit. That's all I'm saying. So let's be a little easy on don't make jokes. Jokes aren't funny. They can be if it's a good joke and how it's intended. It can be funny. Sorry. Yep.
Okay, then. I totally, just for the record, I totally don't agree. But
Yeah, but you laughed.
that's because you are fucking
laughed at my
funny.
joke.
You're funny.
It was a good joke.
Well, I was talking about Kevin Spacey and the kid running from Kevin Spacey.
I can't think of
and
anything.
you changed it to Bill Cosby
Well,
because
it's funnier.
Kevin Spacey is not funny, and that's not a joke.
No, Bill Cosby wasn't funny either. No, you know what? And here's why it was funny too. I was making fun of Bill Cosby, not the victim. That's the difference too. I'm making fun of the perpetrator.
Okay, semantics again.
No, not semantics. I was making fun of the bad person, not the victim.
But he wouldn't have been a bad person if he wasn't doing
if he didn't have
something
victims.
bad.
I mean, what? We can't tell Hitler jokes anymore either. No more Hitler jokes, because Hitler jokes are funny. Look, would a dude have dressed like a Charlie Chaplin lookalike if he didn't intend for people to tell jokes about him?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Probably
Anyway,
not.
shall we go on to some other things? Because there was also that fucking election.
Oh, that one. Yes, that was a good thing, though.
You want to talk about the
Let's
election?
talk about the good thing, because we live in Pennsylvania, which is very cool because we live right next door to New Jersey, and New Jersey experienced a major fucking win.
Yeah, they won the governorship.
The governor. Oh my God. And Mr. Governor, whatever his name is, which I can't remember.
Chris Christie?
No, the new one.
Murphy?
Yeah. You know what his first thing, you know what he said today? I saw it on the news today.
What?
The very first thing he wants to do is he wants them to propose a bill for legalizing marijuana and put it on his desk because he wants to make money for that state. It's exactly what they said.
You know, that would make me get a beach house down the Jersey Shore. I'm just saying.
Love Democrats with that kind of attitude.
Because you could sit out on the porch at the Jersey Shore now. Jersey Shore gonna be a lot more fun.
Right.
Sitting out on the porch, you know, because they got little balconies in most of the beach houses, and you can see the ocean and the breeze, and there's people walking by, and you can have like a big fucking bong,
right?
You know, like a hookah going on. Just
yeah, I act like I like this idea, but no.
And no, you like the idea of sitting out on the porch with other people who enjoy that.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy it. That's fine. No, you don't have to enjoy things that other people enjoy. But no,
I think it's going to be a major moneymaker. They're already looking at ways to. They were talking about creating jobs and all kinds of shit with just the legalization of marijuana.
Well, and Virginia also took a governorship.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
It was huge.
Especially who they took it from.
Gillespie.
Yeah, Gillespie was the one that made the bill for the fucking.
No, that's not him. You're thinking of someone else.
They
don't.
Oh, no, North Carolina.
You're thinking of someone else in Virginia, but no, Gillespie. Gillespie was defending the Confederate monuments, and he was trying to be racist in part of the state, and then not racist where he didn't want to be racist, and it didn't work. People weren't fooled. They're like, "Hey, dude, we have television, so when you go make a speech down in the southern part of our state, we can still hear you." So it failed. But here's a guy on what's her name show. His name's Bob Marshall, and he's a delegate, a Virginia state delegate at the time of this recording. Here we go.
This said, if it makes people uncomfortable, basically too bad, because this is a civil right. Well, it is not a civil right to masquerade your fantasies as reality, but standing up to this is somewhat difficult because you get called all kinds of names, and if you're going to be shying away because somebody calls you a bigot or a transphobe or whatever it is, it probably is not something that you should attempt. But
now, did you know what he was talking about? What it is with a civil right?
Mm-mm.
Being trans. Yeah, he doesn't think that that should be like a civil right or anything, and you should be. He if you stand up to it, people call you a bigot and a transphobe, because you are. So anyway, he's a delegate to the Virginia House of Representatives. He's one of their state reps.
I've drawn a line. I'm not leading it because, I don't make the laws of nature, but I think I understand them, at least at this fundamental level. I never flunked biology, so I'm not going to call a man a woman, period.
Yeah, and because the laws of God cannot be altered, and this is one of those, he did create us after all, and I think that's the difference in our understanding, Bob. At the very heart of it is the lack of acknowledgement or sort of thinking that we can go our own way apart from God's design.
Okay, a couple of things there. That was Sandy Rios, by the way. It was her
I
show.
hate
I
her.
couldn't think of her name because she's not that important in my life. But anyway, first of all, he didn't flunk biology. He knows his biology, so therefore. But something Sandy said at the end, the laws of God cannot be altered. Then why do you fucking eat bacon? What? Why do you eat bacon? If in the Old Testament, God put down a law, no bacon, and the laws of God cannot be altered.
I know.
What the fuck? You eat bacon, don't you? Because apparently you think somebody came along and altered the fucking law.
No,
Just
they
saying.
just pick what they choose.
No, they think Jesus changed it. Yeah, that's exactly what they think. Jesus changed the Old Testament laws. They don't apply anymore. Ask around.
Well, if that were true, then they would say that about all of them, not just
No,
some
no,
of
no.
them.
That's where they pick and choose. Jesus didn't change all of them. He changed
The ones that apply
they
to
don't
them.
like. Yeah. Exactly. But I just thought, worth saying. Hey, anyway, that was Bob Marshall on Sandy Rios' show. He was also on Brian Fisher. Just to let you know what kind of a douchebag Bob Marshall is. He was not only on Sandy Rios, he was on Brian Fisher's show. So I have a clip from that too.
So this is a critical race, Delegate Marshall, not just in Virginia, not just in your own political career, but also around the country, because they're looking at this as kind of the thin edge of the wedge to start pushing transgenders into public office. And right now, you're the one standing in the way of their deviant agenda. And, it seems to me because of their denial of what is plainly true about science and biology and DNA, they are the equivalent of flat earthers.
Okay, so Brian's worried about us flat earthers coming in and fucking with their agenda, and Bob Marshall is he's the key. He's the guy standing in the way. Going to make sure that the bathrooms are for people who actually have the plumbing that he thinks they should have before they go to the bathroom, and he'll be in there checking. Bob Marshall will. That's what Brian Fisher's counting on here, the thin edge of the wedge.
Right.
Here, he's talking how important this election is going to be.
They always want to accuse Christians of being the ones that are living in the last century, unscientific, science deniers, but they're the ones that are really denying the best of what we know in science. Well, Delegate Marshall got about 90 seconds left. Not only does your opponent running as a transgender, even though it's impossible, but he also has something in mind for what he wants with the transgender agenda when it comes to his children.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bothered me a lot because he does he. And then running as a transgender, not that that's possible.
Whatever that means.
Right?
All right, I'm fast forwarding a little bit through this clip because it's longer than I wanted.
Times for it, I testified 4 times against it. I'm asking your listeners to pray the prayer that King David did.
Oh yeah.
When his son Absalom was in the rebellion.
Yeah, so now they're going to pray because they're going to pray about this because they're going to stand the line for Christianity. I'm so excited. This is really a build-up. Actually,
Right?
Brian, you're doing really great here.
He prayed that his counselor would not give solid advice. We need to, one, proceed first with prayer, then thought, then action. You can't be a sideline Christian and think you're going to keep your rights in a society that's becoming ever more secular every day. I can't tell you how many of these liberal groups are out here that are big pack raising money. There's only a couple on the Christian side.
Delegate Bob Marshall has been my guest. And Delegate Marshall, I want to take just a moment and have our listening audience pray for you, just as you requested with regard to this election that you are facing right now. Very critical. Polls are still open, of course, the rest of this day until early this evening in Virginia. You live in District 13 there in Virginia, you can still go out and vote your conscience. Well, let's pray.
Okay.
Are you gonna make us listen to the prayer?
I am going to make everybody listen to the prayer because you have to hear this prayer because this was an important election. And Brian's going to tell Jesus now.
He's pulling out all the
He's
stops.
going to pull out the Jesus card and he's going to tell Jesus
pray.
how important this election was.
Here for Delegate Bob Marshall, if you'd be kind enough to join me. Father, we bring Delegate Marshall before you. Lord, we commend him to you as someone who stands out apologetically and without reserve for your truth, for the truth of Scripture. We pray that you would honor him for his stand. We pray that you would bless him for his stand. We pray as he stepped forward and made himself available to be reelected in Virginia as a representative of the people, that if his cause is just and if it is right in your eyes, we ask you to bless it and to prosper it in Jesus' name.
Wow. So if his cause is right and his cause is just, and then he's asking God to bless it and prosper it
because
he's got to stand up against these transgender people.
Right.
That was recorded because that election already happened.
And guess what?
Bob Marshall is no longer a delegate for
he lost.
Virginia. He lost to a trans woman.
So what were you saying
named
earlier?
Danica Ream.
What was your question earlier?
So which is it there, Mr. Brian Fisher? Because I just heard your prayer to the Jesus. And either you have to admit now prayer doesn't work, or Jesus doesn't think that cause was just. Which is it?
Yep.
Because one of those two has to be true.
Right.
I'm going with option A because there's no fucking Jesus listening. But I'll allow you to take option B if you want. You can say that your anti-trans or your transphobic shit is not just. I'll be happy to hear that. But yeah, so that Bob Marshall, who we've been playing, actually got beat by a trans woman, and not by a little. She did not eke out a victory over him. She beat him by 9 fucking points.
Yep.
In Virginia. So, all right, next time I bust on the South, remind me that a bunch of Virginians showed up at the polls on that day. Remind me that there were 9 points more good Southern people in that district. So next time I bust on the South, you get a freebie.
Yeah.
You get a freebie because of those Virginians. Anyway, so I think we should transfer into the Bible. The Bible's gonna be a little longer than usual. I know everybody leaves during the Bible, which is fine if you want to do that.
But if you don't leave, you can talk to me. I will actually chat. I have to figure out how to log into YouTube because FCDY Childs said Happy Veterans Day to me and you, but I couldn't reply to her because I'm not logged in.
I couldn't get on there.
Either.
Yeah, we're going to take a little bathroom break, but then we're going to come back and we're just going to chat while the Bible's going.
And I think I'll get my beer.
And if you want to comment on the Bible, it's Jeremiah chapters 34 to 36 today. So anyway, without further ado, here's the old Bible.
Hold your breath. Make a wish. Count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.
I'm sorry, kids. I don't believe in fairy tales.
Okay, we are now reviewing chapter 34 of Jeremiah in our quest to get all the way through this book.
Someday.
Well, I will say this though. Looks like we're starting to get a little story now, not just. Well, I mean, there's prophecy, but there's also some story going on. There's things happening, right? Starts out Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and his army. And all his people, apparently, in his empire are fighting against Jerusalem. All of them. Right? What they do is they have big dudes and they grab the babies by the ankles and swing them at the other people to hit them. So that the babies are in the fight.
So the babies are in the fight too.
All the people are fighting against Jerusalem right now. That's what it says. I'm sorry. That's what it literally says. and all his army and all the kingdoms and peoples in the empire he ruled were fighting against Jerusalem. So, anyway, God starts talking to Jeremiah again. I don't have to worry about Jeremiah. He's hearing too much voices.
Right. He's totally hearing voices
Right?
in his head.
And he goes, "Hey, I'm about to give Jerusalem to the king of Babylon." And Jeremiah's like, "Finally, dude, you've been saying this for chapter after chapter."
And he'll burn it down.
Yeah, he's supposed to go tell Zedekiah, the king of Judah, that it's Judah that he's given, not Jerusalem, Judah. Hey, I'm about to give him the city. You're not going to escape, dude. So, if you're planning to escape, forget it.
He's such a good guy. I mean, he's like, okay, I'm gonna give this to this guy so he can destroy it.
Yeah, and he's gonna and he's telling the king that you're about to lose your city.
Right.
But hey,
but
don't worry.
Right. All is not lost.
You're not gonna die by the sword. You're gonna die peacefully. So good on you, man. Good on you.
Right? How nice of him.
And you'll have a fire in your honor after you're fucking dead. Yay. Thank you so much. What a great. And then he goes into, I guess this is the why he's doing it. He starts talking about the slaves.
Okay, so I just want to say that this part of the Bible, because, okay, everybody busts on the Bible how it's so mean and awful and everything. If you're one of those cherry-picking Christians who wants to say good things about slavery in the Bible, this is where you'd pick it from. Because
this is where you would pick that cherry.
I like this part because he's like,
except it's not a cherry.
I'm going to kill all of you people because you were made slaves.
Well, he starts ranting. Well, no. See, here's the problem. It was to free their Hebrew slaves.
But still, it was slaves.
Some of them. So, in other words, only the Jewish slaves, only the Hebrews get free.
Some
other
is better
slaves
than
of
none.
other nationalities stay slaves.
Some is better than none.
And he's mad because
Because they didn't do it.
They all agree to free their slaves, and then they free them.
And then
they change their mind and take them back again. How does that work? How do you just go, okay, you're all free, and they leave, and what you go get them?
That's like the North and the South.
Do you like psych?
The North going, no, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how you get them back.
Right.
After once you free the slaves, they're pretty much not going to come back on their own.
Right.
They're not going to go, oh man, he changed his mind. Now I have to go back.
Damn.
So I don't understand how they did that.
Excuse me. Oh. I have to sneeze.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
I can't. Okay, never mind.
Then he goes like, every 7th year, I told you got to free 80 Hebrews. So again, just his it says any fellow Hebrews. That's who you have to free. Not everybody. And he goes, oh, you weren't listening. So apparently they've been keeping the Hebrews for like an extra year.
Right.
Or something, and they're not supposed to. Not without putting an awl in their ear and marking them properly.
So I like that he's into object lessons, right? Because he's like, so now let's show you freedom.
Right. Now he gets all smart ass. Now,
right?
Now you're going to have your freedom.
Freedom to fall by the sword.
Plague and famine.
It's funny.
Well, first of all, I don't think people are going to die of the sword, plague, and famine. Really, you only get to die by one of them.
Right?
You can't make me die by all three. Fuck you, Yahweh. You can't make me die by all three. And he's going to make them a horde to all kingdoms of the earth. All of them. Every kingdom.
Treat them like the calf they cut into.
Yeah, what is that? That's so weird.
That is weird.
He goes, those who have violated my covenant and have not fulfilled the terms of the covenant they made before me, I will treat like the calf they cut in two and then walked between its pieces.
Really?
Who the fuck does that? But then he's going on.
Maybe it's like,
and then he goes on, but he goes on about it. He's like the leaders of Judah and Jerusalem, the court officials, the priests, and all the people of the land who walk between the pieces of the calf.
Maybe it's like walking on, like, splitting poles. You know when you're walking, like, holding hands with somebody, and you go around a pole one way, and you have to let go of hands, Instead
No,
of
no, because they're in the middle. They're walking in the middle.
Oh,
Like who goes around with a fucking sword, just starts cutting cows in half just so that just
so they can walk through
walk
the
in
middle?
between the pieces.
I don't know.
Who does that? Nobody does that.
These guys.
Or maybe he just thinks they do. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, so that's pretty much all that's in this chapter.
That was this chapter, yeah.
And it's done. That was chapter 34.
It's over.
Okay, chapter 35 is this cute little object lesson.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, no, it's just like it's like a little parable thing going on here.
But it's an evil parable.
Well, all right. So it starts out, God apparently says to Jeremiah, hey, go get the Rechabites, bring them into the house, and give them some wine.
Right. Get them drunk.
And so he brings them some wine, and they go, hey, man, we don't drink wine because our great ancestor forefather dude said don't ever drink wine.
Right.
Or have houses.
Right.
Or have crops or vineyards. You're supposed to be nomadic
and live in tents.
And that's all you're ever going to do because that's my command. So we don't do any of that stuff is basically what they said. You know, it's the blind obedience parable. See, they obeyed their forefathers, so they're good. And that's what he was trying to show Jeremiah. And then he starts talking about the people of Israel.
He should have used a different example.
I told them stuff, and they don't listen. But these people got told stuff, and they listen. So they're good people because they don't question orders. It's that don't question. You were told to do this, so you just do.
Right.
And you know, for a God who's supposedly allowed free will, he seems to fucking hate it.
But because that's what I was going to say. He told them to drink the wine, right? And they didn't want to drink the wine, so he was all pissed off.
No, he was not pissed off at them. He was showing Jeremiah what people are supposed to be like. Because see, they listened. They're the listeners. And he's gonna nuke Judah and Jerusalem because they don't listen.
Because they don't listen.
You know, verse 17. And I get that, because he's been saying that forever. But I gotta ask, if they're not listening to you, if your message is not getting through, and you're God, aren't you responsible? Really? I mean, you know, not only did you make them with this free will shit, which you apparently don't like, you don't want them exercising it. You know, it's weird. It's like, oh, I made you with free will so that you could suppress it,
right?
To obey me, because you're supposed to love me more than this free will stuff, which I made and I gave to you. Well, then,
but I don't want you to have.
But I don't want you to use it.
Right.
Right. It's like buying your kid a PlayStation
and then telling them they can't use it
and having them never play it. They should only be cleaning the house,
right?
And getting mad every time they play it. It's weird. It's just weird. But in the end, yeah, because he says the Rechabites will never fail to have a descendant to serve him, because he's so impressed with them, because they listened, and that's the whole chapter.
Yep,
short one. Okay, chapter 36. I think we've invented writing down things.
This book is stupid.
In chapter 36. I know, right? All right, so God comes to Jeremiah. Again, that's how these chapters generally start. In the 4th year of Jehoiakim, and luckily we do listen to this on audio, so I do get the pronunciations of these names, because I never would have got Jehoiakim right.
Right.
Son of Josiah, right, in his 4th year. And he says, take a scroll and write on it all the words I have spoken to you concerning Israel, Judah, and all the other nations from the time I began speaking to you until in the reign of Josiah until now.
How's he supposed to remember all that shit?
Right? I hope he fucking already wrote it down somewhere, because like he's not going to remember everything.
He's got like an eidetic memory thing going on.
And if so, whatever. He's got to now he's decided to write this shit down.
Right, it's time now.
Now we're going to write it down, because hopefully you remember everything. And then verse 3, right? Perhaps when the people of Judah hear about every disaster I plan on inflicting them, they will turn from their wicked ways. Then I will forgive their wickedness and their sin. What do you mean fucking perhaps?
Perhaps they won't.
You've been predicting that this shit is going to happen. Now, if they do, then you're wrong. How do you resolve that?
You just don't.
You know, you're either your prophecy is wrong, or this can't happen. So I don't know what Yahweh's talking about perhaps here. And aren't you omnipotent, omniscient? Don't you know shit?
Right?
Yeah, you don't perhaps when you know shit. You don't go, maybe this will happen when you know everything. You have to know everything to know everything, which means you would have to know what the decision's going to be. So anyway, he gets this Baruch guy to write everything down. And then he tells him, go into the towns and read it to everybody on a day of fasting. So Baruch does that, basically.
Yep.
And he gets by one of the gates. He just starts reading the scroll about all the, and this is everything he's told Jeremiah up to this point. He's reading basically all the shit you've sat through with us up to this point. That's what he's standing up there reading aloud outside. I really actually feel for Baruch now. So when Micaiah, right? He's one of the is he official? He's an official of the city, and he hears this. He goes to all the other officials and says, "You'll never guess what I heard." And here, listen to this, verse 13. After Micaiah told them everything they had heard, he had heard Baruch read from the scroll. So now Micaiah heard him read all this shit, and just went and told them everything.
And then he repeated it all.
Yeah, like. So he's got
a memory too.
These are like super Jew memory. That's their power. That's their fucking X-Man power, I think. All right, and then all the officials go, wait, bring the scroll here, and then Baruch, and so they bring Baruch and the scroll, and they say, sit down and please read it to us. Well, didn't the Micaiah just tell you everything that was in there? No.
Well, now they want to hear it from
Baruch.
And
now Baruch reads it to him. And then verse 17. This is from the Bible, people. This is in the Bible. Ready? Verse 17. Then they asked Baruch, tell us, how did you come to write all this? Did Jeremiah dictate it? Verse 18. Yes, Baruch replied. He dictated all these words to me, and I wrote them in ink on the scroll.
I know, it's awful.
I can't make this up. Then the official said to Baruch, you and Jeremiah, go hide. Don't let anyone know where you are. Because apparently, I don't know, writing in ink. Holy shit.
That's bad.
So then they inform the king, right? And then they take the scroll to the king, and the dude is one of the other dudes is reading from the scroll to the king, and as soon as he finishes a couple of lines, the king takes a knife and cuts those couple lines off.
I thought this was a pretty cool trick, because if you think about that mechanically, how that must have been happening.
That king's pretty good with his knife.
He's holding the scroll, and the knife must have been super sharp.
Super.
Right? To just cut paper like that.
Or papyrus or whatever it was made out of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm impressed, actually. And apparently the king and all his attendants were not afraid, and they did not tear their clothes.
And they didn't tear their clothes. And by the way, I just want to tell you, I don't know if we looked this up before, but I remember clothes tearing being a thing. And so I had
it's a thing.
You know why it's a thing? It's mourning or sadness or grief. I looked it up.
Yep.
Because I didn't know why the fuck these people tear their clothes.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Sorry, I had a little technical problem there.
Feline.
It's called a feline.
Hi, baby.
Anyway, so that's what happens. And then he says, no, go arrest them. Right? Arrest them. But apparently the Lord had already hidden them.
Yep.
So you can't find them. They're stealth. They're all ninja. They're God ninja'd. And then when Yahweh finds out about this, because apparently he didn't know it was going to happen, he says, take another scroll and write on all the words that were on the first scroll.
Do it again.
Could he just told them, I mean, if you know shit and you know this was going to happen,
just write a couple of them.
Tell me to write a copy. Oh, by the way, I want you to write all this shit down and just as an aside, why didn't he tell him to do this the whole time?
Yeah.
Hey,
So
hey,
write it
as I'm
down.
telling you this
Write
stuff,
it again.
write it down. And you know what? Before you take it in there, make a copy. No, they got to write it all again. So he writes it all again. And he says he's really mad at Jehoiakim for burning his scroll. And he says he will have no one to sit on the throne of David. His body will be thrown out and exposed to the heat by day and frost by night. And he says he's going to punish him and his children and his attendants for their wickedness.
He'd bring on every disaster that they've ever had.
All of them.
All
of the disasters are coming your way because you burned that
because
piece of
you
paper.
didn't listen.
Yep. So Baruch wrote it all up again. Apparently Jeremiah can't write. I mean, that's what impression I'm getting. Jeremiah himself cannot write. I think he's illiterate.
Yep.
Because he has to have Baruch write it all down.
So the final line in this chapter made me laugh too, because he's like, Baruch wrote it all down, and many similar words were added to them.
Yeah, like what the hell is that? What does that mean?
I think that's their loophole.
Yeah, in case he got something wrong.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that was chapter
36.
36, and it was actually, I don't know, at least there was a little story. Something happened.
It's kind of entertaining.
You know, the mystery of the scroll. and they used ink. And without the Bible, we wouldn't know that they used ink.
Right.
That's 36.
Because you have to know everything or have revelation from somebody does to know anything.
But it's the moment the skeptic, that free-thinking, agnostic, atheist, whatever, begins to challenge the God of the Bible.
Behold, the atheist's nightmare. Everybody believes in God, but some have decided to suppress that truth.
Bill, I just want to let you know that there actually is a book out there that actually tells us where matter came from.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
Welcome to the bar room. I'm Bill here with my co-host Susie. When he does this, he's equivocating.
What we're talking about in a laboratory, there is no other side of the coin.
Right, you're trying to get to the truth.
Right.
Well, you know, facts fucking matter.
In some states, not in Oklahoma.
What they're doing is they're straw manning natural selection. So back the fuck off before I shove a Nimbus 2000 up your ass and ride you all the way back to Azkaban.
Welcome to the Counter-Apologetics segment. This is usually where we take some religious argument and turn it into barroom level and explain to you why it's bullshit and how you can throw it back in somebody's face.
And what are we doing today instead?
In this case, it's kind of a political argument because, you know, with all the things that have been happening with Manafort being indicted and Gates has been indicted and Papa Dapa Lapa Mama, he pled guilty and they're talking about going after, what's his name? Flynn. Yeah. And Flynn Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, both Flynns. They're going to do a double Flynn here. So all that's happening right now. And what is the response from the Trumpers and the Trumps and all the GOP?
Probably something, but what about Hillary?
What about Hillary? Why aren't we investigating Hillary? What about Hillary sold 20% of the U.S. uranium to Russia? That's what we're going to talk about. Because, you know, you hear this shit and you can't make it up. Yes, they are saying that she sold 20% of the United States uranium to Russia. Yeah. Now, I like to ask them, well, how much is that in grams, pounds, kilograms? How much actually went to Russia? Can you tell me?
Right.
Because the answer is the same in grams, in kilograms, in pounds. It's zero. Absolutely none. That's how much U.S. uranium went to Russia. None. Zero.
And you know this why?
Because it's all bullshit. Hillary sold nothing to the Russians here. Hillary had nothing to do with it. The United States, no Americans sold anything to the Russians at all. Okay? There was a company or a company based out of Toronto, and it was called, hold on a second, I'm going to give you the name of the company, Uranium One. And so it's a Canadian company, and they had the rights to some uranium mines in Wyoming. Got me so far?
So
Canadians
have rights to
mines in Wyoming.
mines
They're,
in
they're
Wyoming.
allowed to
Gotcha.
mine it. Now, however, uranium is considered like a national security substance, so they can't export it.
Right.
So no matter who owns the rights to mine those mines,
Right.
they can't sell it outside the United States.
Okay.
So it can't go to Russia. A Russian company, which was government owned by them, purchased a Canadian company. Got me?
Got you.
Canadian company being bought by. Let me put this in simple terms. If you want to buy a gun, you would go to the gun dealer. Okay? In our analogy, you are the Russians. The gun dealer is the Canadians. You see where Hillary Clinton fits into that? No, because she doesn't. Okay. Now, but if you want to buy that gun, right? The gun dealer's got to check with somebody, right? He's got to run it by something. So he's going to send it up to the FBI and the crime database, the one that didn't get updated with the shooter recently. Okay. That database, in our scenario, is a government council called, and I have it named here, and I put a link in the show notes. CFIUS is the acronym. Let me see if I can find what it stands for real quick. CFIUS. What is CFIUS? Here it is. Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States. Okay? What is the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States? It's a government council of 9 different agencies, a representative from each agency.
Were any of them Hillary Clinton?
Absolutely none of them were Hillary Clinton. Although there was one representative from the State Department, which she runs. So there was a guy from the State Department on the council.
Okay, but he's required to be on the council because they have...
Now, they don't actually approve transactions like this.
Right.
They can just recommend to the president, if they find a problem with this transaction, that he block it. So it's not like they need their the president, and only the president has the right to say, no, I'm not going to allow this transaction because of the type of material that it is. That's it. So basically, Hillary's not the person that you call to get the approval. She's the person who that person works for. She's the person that person works for. And who probably never knows about your transaction. And has no authority to stop your transaction because that would be the president. Okay? So yeah, that's basically what it is. They had to get approval from the CFIUS, or actually run it through the CFIUS. And then, see, that's why they just say, oh, Hillary sold 20% of uranium, because it's a complicated situation.
That Trump or any of his people yell, well, don't look at me because I'm breaking all these laws. What about Hillary? I just want to go, dumbass. Hillary Clinton is not president of the United States. You fucking won. She didn't.
All right. That's true. Well, let me read a couple things from this article and finish explaining it here. And then we'll definitely bag on Trump a little bit. What can we glean from all this? Ready? It is unlikely, this person has concluded, and you can link to the article. It's a legal blog. That Secretary Clinton personally participated in the transaction. Here's the thing, folks. Cabinet secretaries don't participate in everything their department does. It's not reasonable. I mean, like, nobody's going to the DOD secretary and saying, why didn't you make sure that guy's stuff was entered in the database? Okay. It should have been, but it wasn't him. The thing is, this is for mining and excavation, not export. In other words, they can't take any of the uranium out of the United States at all. Zero. And, you know, the only concern is, well, the Russians have this, the right to mine these mines, and what if we're at war with Russia? If we're at war with Russia, we're going to seize their assets, including the mining rights. And then there'll be U.S. government property. So that's not even an issue. So no uranium was sold. The United States didn't sell anything. They weren't a party to the transaction, is what I'm saying. And yeah, you're right. It's their trusty standby. What about Hillary?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They tell her, why aren't we investigating Hillary for Uranium One? Well, first of all, Hillary didn't have anything to do with Uranium One, as I just explained. Barack Obama could have prevented Uranium One. And if you disagree with his decision on the Uranium One deal, or you think he should have interceded, you have the right to disagree. That's absolutely fine. However, it's not a crime for him not to have interceded. He didn't have to, you know what I mean? You might I disagree with the new tax bill.
Right.
Which we should probably talk about too. But I disagree with the new House tax bill. I haven't looked at the Senate one really yet. But if they pass it and make it law, I'm not going to recommend that Congress be investigated by a special prosecutor because, you know, they did this bad tax thing that I don't agree with. They have every right to do that. It's perfectly legal. I just disagree with them. That's where we're at with Uranium One. Nobody's alleging that she committed a crime. Nobody's alleging that anybody committed a crime with Uranium One. Uranium One is not some dark scandal. It's a thing that the U.S. government decided to let happen. And you can disagree with the policy all you want, but nobody's even alleging that a crime happened. You know, it's like we're investigating you for stealing from my house. And you go, well, what about Bob? He walked down the sidewalk. If Bob's allowed to walk down the sidewalk. Well, I don't like it. Well, neither do I, but he's allowed to. So it's like that. That's exactly what they're doing with the Hillary Clinton thing. And of course, you know, there's all their made up stuff and the pedophilia under the pizza place and all the crazy crap that they come up with. They're bringing it all back up now. You know why? Because it's all they have. Fact. Trump, whether or not he's a criminal, not proven, hired criminals. He hired criminals to work for his campaign.
Yeah,
he hired criminals to work in his cabinet. In fact, his commerce secretary is in trouble now, too.
Yeah.
Because apparently he had holdings with not only with Russians, right? Companies, not only Putin's freaking family. The family of that he didn't disclose because he didn't think it was important. Because what? The Russia thing wasn't a big deal during his confirmation hearings? I mean, come on. How much huger can you get? But while all this storm is happening and the Russia thing and what about Hillary? And I want to remind everyone that we still have a purpose here that we at Barroom Atheist find dear, and that's to combat theocracy. And as an institutor of theocracy, I happen to have an old friend here in a sound clip. Who do you think it is, Sue?
The Crypt Keeper.
Manafort is an easy target, if I can use that term. He has clearly been an agent of foreign governments. They have paid him huge amounts of money, and the chances are he hasn't appropriately registered as an agent. And so there's a technical violation that they could get him on, and that may be what they're going after, and then one of his aides. But as far as the White House, not a chance.
Okay, now Pat was talking about Manafort here, and it's a technical violation that he forgot to register as a foreign agent. Well, first of all, it's a crime. It's not a technical violation. Yeah, I mean, technically, it's a crime because he broke the law. So that's the technical violation. And Paul Manafort has been charged with 12 counts.
Right.
Okay.
Which means
that's just one of the 12.
Right.
So Pat addresses one of the 12 and just calls it a technicality. Now, let me just throw something else in here with Manafort and Gates. Do you know, if you don't believe the witnesses in Manafort and Gates, it doesn't matter. You know why? There are no witnesses. This is all paperwork. This is all, here's their paperwork that shows this. This is not, it's not even a question of whether, oh, gee, I don't know, are they guilty or innocent? It's, here's the paperwork. Here's where it's all written down, folks. You know, and the guy had 3 passports
I know,
with different
right?
numbers and a burner phone.
And aliases.
Right, and aliases. But, you know, it's just a technicality, right? Anyway, let Pat go on here.
And there's again an op-ed today in the newspaper about what the president's power is. He can grant a pardon to everybody involved in this thing if he wants to. And there's no such thing as the president obstructing justice if he talks to one of his people in the Justice Department. They're part of the administration's force. That's his side of the aisle under the Constitution.
Okay, Pat is absolutely right here and absolutely wrong. He's absolutely wrong about, well, if the president inserts himself into a criminal case, it's not really because he runs the Justice Department, so it's no. What you have to understand is that a criminal case like Manafort's not only comes under the Justice Department, but it comes under the judiciary, which under the Constitution is an entirely different branch of government. They're the ones who decide guilt, innocence, and punishment, not the president. Ergo, it is obstruction of justice when he inserts himself in. But Pat is 100% correct. Tomorrow, President Trump could go into the Oval Office and pardon anyone who may or may not have been involved for any crimes they may or may not have committed during this thing.
Right.
And it would end the investigation. Oh, no, it wouldn't. But we'll get to that.
So this whole thing has got to be shut down, and I think they've got what they call the fruit of the poisonous tree. We had that in law school. You learn that when the source is tainted, then everything that comes out of that source is tainted. And that Fusion GPS dossier is tainted. And the source of the money coming from the Democratic Party makes it tainted. It is.
No, Pat. Now, I know Pat's a graduate of Yale Law School. That's no bullshit.
Right.
In 1955, he graduated. But he never passed the bar exam, and he never actually practiced law. And even I know that that is not what the fruit of the fucking poisonous tree means, okay? What that is if the government obtains something illegally. In other words, if they were to come into our house without a search warrant and find a document, any evidence that document leads them to, they can't use. It's not because the source was kind of biased who paid for the report. It's not because there was a bias somewhere. No. Fusion GPS is a private company that did up a dossier. They were contracted by a Republican donor, a law firm, associated with the GOP. Then the GOP backed out when Trump became the nominee. They didn't want the dirt dug up on Trump, and the DNC took over.
That's funny.
But the fact that somebody looked up some shit doesn't mean that it's not valid. It doesn't mean that, anything you find out because of that, well, they didn't like Trump, therefore. No, it doesn't work that way. And there's absolutely nothing illegal about the DNC paying a group to look up stuff about Trump.
Right.
So where's the poisonous tree, Pat? There is no poisonous tree. But hold on, let's go on.
Is it a clear independent dossier? And this means that every indictment, like the General Flynn, that came out of that source is tainted, and they've got to quash any indictments or any interrogatories that result from that. And so,
okay, like I said, absolute bullshit. Let me give you the equivalent of this. This is like saying they have to quash any evidence they get from a rape victim because she's biased. She's not an impartial source. Of course she's not fucking impartial. She's the victim.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. You can take things from biased sources and then find evidence based on what they've given you. Of course you can. But you can't violate somebody's constitutional rights and get evidence, which nobody's alleging they did. Love Pat. What a jerk.
most of that stuff's going to get shut down, and I just believe the president has got to shut this thing down. It's a distraction. He is chief executive office of the United States of America. He's got to do the nation's business. We are faced with crucial things around the world. We have several areas of conflict that he's got to deal with. And we have huge matters at home that have got to get our nation moving. We cannot have this destruction. And I think he has every right to shut Mueller down and say, you've gone as far as you need to. And I have instructed my Justice Department to close you down. He can do it. And he also, you know, the article today of a couple of lawyers was saying he can grant a blanket pardon for everybody involved in everything and say, all right, I pardon them all, you know, case closed, it's all over.
That's right. He has that power. But here's why, but it won't stop the investigation necessarily, because there is actually a person that Donald Trump cannot pardon. The president of the United States cannot pardon himself.
Right. Right.
Okay, so Donald Trump would then be the only person, the only subject of the investigation who could be prosecuted if in fact he were impeached and removed. But here's why he will never do that, because I think he's a little smarter than Pat Robertson. Is that a compliment to Donald Trump? I don't know. I think maybe it is. If Donald Trump were to issue that blanket pardon tomorrow, the Justice Department and Mueller would call in everybody. They would call Ivanka Trump in. They would call in Jared. They would call in Donald Jr. And they said, you will tell us everything you know about this, or you're going to jail. And you will sit in jail until you tell us everything you know. You will not invoke the Fifth Amendment. You have no Fifth Amendment rights here. You will sit in jail until you tell us everything. Donald Trump will have effectively removed the Fifth Amendment rights of everyone involved. Nobody can take the Fifth. Nobody can refuse to answer any question at all, ever. Right?
Right.
You see why?
Because even if they do incriminate themselves, they could be pardoned by the president.
They're
of the United
already
States.
pardoned. They've already been pardoned. Once you're pardoned, you can't incriminate yourself. It's impossible
They can't
for
get
you
in
to
trouble
incriminate.
like again.
No, because if I've been pardoned for something, if I like let's say I'm
that a double jeopardy
let's say
kind
I
of thing?
murdered you, and then President Trump pardoned me for it the next day. I can take out an ad in the freaking New York Times that's 3 pages long detailing exactly how I did it. Doesn't matter. I was pardoned. You know, so it doesn't exist. It's not a thing.
I see.
I can't be incriminated. So if Trump were to pardon them all, or pardon anybody, that person can be compelled to testify because they can't incriminate themselves. So they can't withhold any information. They can't ever invoke the Fifth Amendment. So that's why Trump won't do it. Anyway, thought that was a neat little counter-apologetic.
That's neat.
Thought it might be good for us to have, you know. And folks, the last thing on our Theocracy Watch is that tax bill.
Do we have to talk about taxes?
We're going to talk about taxes. First of all, tax bills not good for most people, although it is good for us. We would probably, because we don't have any kids, we'd probably save a little money. But no, I want to talk. The Johnson Amendment, folks, is in there.
Oh.
And that ties to what we do here.
Yes.
So if you haven't called your congressman, do it. You don't have to object to Johnson, because that may not be what sways them, but you can calculate how much taxes you'll pay with it, especially if you're a family with kids, and say, hey, I'm going to pay more taxes if you do this. You're actually putting the burden on me. At least make their phones light up. Find reasons to oppose this thing. And if you want to just oppose Johnson straight up, do that too, but just make sure that they hear from their constituents, I oppose this bill. And keep saying it, and hopefully we can convince them that enough people oppose this bill that they're going to pay for it in 2018 if they pass it.
I think that some of has been effectively communicated that when you oppose something and people hear you, because I mean, look at the election.
Yeah,
you know, people stood up and said, "Dude, no." So look at the election, and
I think a lot of the election was a referendum on Trump.
yeah, so do I.
And I'm sitting in a county that used to be run by Republicans at the county level and is now run by Democrats.
And
And
I
I think that was a referendum on Trump.
And I think it should just keep going.
Yeah.
People can't get complacent and can't get like stuck.
But this Johnson Amendment, and they're not fully repealing the Johnson Amendment. I don't know. A lot of people say they're repealing it. They're not. What they're doing is they're saying it's okay for churches.
Right. They're
You
just
know.
fucking with us.
For example, another 501c3 like American Atheists cannot politicize. Dave Silverman cannot, at the American Atheist Convention, say vote for, I don't know, the Democrat in the next election. He can't do that. That would still be a violation of the Johnson Amendment. If he was a preacher and it was a Christian gathering, he can. That's what they're saying.
That makes no sense.
The scary part about this is, folks, the way finances work for 501c3s is also already different. Like American Atheist is audited and they check where their money's coming from, where it's going out, and they have to report donations over a certain amount. There are a lot of rules that they have to follow. And it's not just them, it's any 501c3.
Right. Except churches don't.
Churches don't have to report anything. They don't have to report their income, their outgoing, none of it. Their books are closed. So if they can now endorse candidates, what is to stop, I don't know, any organization from just dumping money into a church and saying, hey, we want you, going to them and say, hey, we want you to push our candidate really hard. Here's some money. Here's $500,000 to do it with. Like that little, a church the size of the one that was at the shooting and it had like 50 people in it.
Mm-hmm.
What's to stop somebody from giving them $500,000 and saying, push my candidate?
Yeah, but they'd still only be pushing their candidate to 50 people.
No, because they could take out advertising with it. Churches can advertise. You can't tell a church they can't advertise. They can put up billboards. You know, the First Baptist Church loves Jesus. Oh, and vote for Johnny. He's great. He loves Jesus too. So all of this money can just flow through churches. Not only that, these people can dump money like that they wouldn't ordinarily be able to give, or they wouldn't want the source of it traced because it has to be reported.
Right.
And they could dump it into a church and then take a tax deduction for it and then write it off their taxes as a charitable contribution. This is scary. In the great book Christian Nation, if you haven't read it, read it. It's pretty cool.
Read it. It's cool.
Little alternate history there about how Barack Obama loses the election, and that didn't happen. But one of the first things they did when they took over, or that started the chain, was the repeal of the Johnson Amendment. It was one of the first things. It made churches unfettered money machines for politics. That's what's about to happen. The other thing is that happened, ironically, in that book, the really bad guy,
Yeah.
who took over in the end and like was the big Jesus
Was it
guy.
Donald Trump?
No, but he won. But in the book, he won the 2016 election. The bad guy. You know, who he beat
Hillary Clinton?
Hillary Clinton.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It was a
Scary
little
shit.
scary. But anyway, it's a good book, so check it out. But definitely call your congresspeople and oppose this Johnson Amendment. It'll work. If enough of us do it, it'll work. You got to get plugged into the system. I've been saying it. It worked in Virginia, man. People voted in these off-year elections, and shit changed.
Yeah. Big
Oh,
time.
They just took back their state house, Virginia did.
Yeah.
And I don't know that when they vote again for state house, but if the Democrats can hold on to it past the 2020 census, that's an entire state GOP won't be able to gerrymander because they'll get to redraw the maps.
Nice.
And I would not support the Democrats gerrymandering it back the other way. I would not support that, and I would be in their face if they did it. I think elections need to be fair.
Right.
There's no tit for tat here, but at least we know they're not going to gerrymander it GOP way.
Right.
So that's a good thing. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got for the night. Susie, you got anything?
I got nothing, babe. I don't. I really don't.
I know. And there was so much. We didn't get to talk about it all. I'm sorry. But it has been a real shitstorm
It was a real shitstorm.
lately, and it's not stopping. It's just picking up the pace. I mean, I sit and watch the news, and there's new shit every day. And it's like we forgot about the old stuff, like the shooting.
The shootings. Oh, yeah, there's a shooting. Oh, well, there was another shooting last week. Well, there was a shooting the week before
That shooting
too.
was 5 days ago.
Right.
5 days ago, he shot up that church.
Right.
And freaking Donald, well, I don't see it as a gun issue. I see it as a mental health issue. What? Mental health doesn't make people shoot up places. What are you, fucking nuts? Get it?
That's
what are you,
funny.
fucking nuts? No, because like 1 in 5 Americans has some mental health issue. 1 in 5 Americans doesn't shoot up places. Not everybody shoots up places.
Nope.
Has a mental health issue. So, but you know what everybody who shoots up places has? A fucking gun.
A fucking gun.
So there's that. And we'll probably do we could do a whole episode on that. But what bothered me was Donald Trump's nonchalant, well, what are you going to do? It's mental health. What are you going to do? And a week before, when a Muslim guy killed 8 people, death penalty.
Yeah.
That animal, kill that animal. Oh, we're going to go bomb those suckers. Does that make sense?
It does
to anybody?
if you're Donald Trump.
I mean, like 3 times the amount of Americans were killed. And now nobody's talking about it because all this other shit has happened in the meantime.
Right.
Which is a problem because then nothing's going to happen about guns again.
Right.
So anyway, don't let them off the hook, folks. Keep up the heat. Susie, how can they reach us?
So,
This is show number 87.
I know, but I just hate it every time.
You act like you don't like. Oh, really? I got to do that. Like for 87 shows, you've been doing this.
You know what? I'm gonna write it down and just read it someday.
And you know, we are kind of gonna get punked because everybody's got like tons of shows. We got like 87. We're still in 2 digits.
I know.
Someday we're gonna hit
People
100.
who started way after us.
I know.
A lot
Have
more
like
shows
200
than we do.
shows. Yeah, I know.
All right. So we have a Facebook page. You've seen it, I'm sure. It's Barroom Atheist.
You may actually be watching us on it
You
now.
may actually be watching us now. Yeah.
Yes, I'll sure.
We also both have emails. If you want to contact Bill, it's bill.robbins819@gmail.com. Mine is sberry@yahoo.com. We have a voicemail line.
Yes, we do.
If you'd like to call in the voicemail line, the number is
484-352-2004. For some reason, Susie can't remember it.
I barely remember our email addresses. Come on. Bill does Twitter.
Yeah, at Barroom Atheist is the show, and everything from Facebook will go there. If you're a Twitter person, you don't have to get on Facebook because if I put something on Facebook, it'll flip onto Twitter. And my personal Twitter is @Shaper079.
Yeah, we got to get him to argue with somebody again, either on the show or, make it Twitter to the show, because that really gets us listenership when you go out and go after somebody. So,
well, I'm trying to put together a show right now for like just future teasers here. There's a group called Republican Atheists. Sorry.
Interesting.
And they're going to come on. They're going to send a rep on. And I also have a friend who we know through others, and we've met many times. Good guy. Going to come on. He's a Christian, but he's liberal.
Okay.
And a Democrat. So I'm going to have a liberal Democrat Christian and a conservative atheist on the show. And we're going to see what the hell happens.
That ought to be neat.
Yeah, that should be fun. That'll be like opposite day.
But
It'll be like Bizarro World, right?
That's how to get us. That's where we're at.
Yep.
I got nothing else, babe.
With that, I'm Bill.
And I'm Susie.
Stay reasonable, my friends. And forgive me the delay because I was not ready with the out music.
Shame.
I just wasn't ready.
Shame. Boy, you really weren't ready.
Told you.
You're pissing me off, man. Fuck.
I bang on the door, but you won't let me in. 'Cause you're sick and tired of me drinking up gin. Knock on the door, back and left me a note telling me I should pack. I walk in the bar and the fellas all cheer. Order me up whiskey and beer. You ask me why I'm writing this poem. Call it a tavern, but I call it home. Fuck you, I'm drunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. Pour my beer down the sink. I've got more in the trunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. And I'm going to be drunk till the next time I'm drunk. You've given me an option. You say I must choose between you and the liquor. Then I'll take the booze. Jumping on Western down to the south side, where I'll sit down and exercise my Irish pride. Fuck you, I'm drunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. Pour my beer down the sink. I've got more in the trunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. Fuck you, I'm drunk. And I'm going to be drunk till the next time